Evening, I'm Chief Meteorologist Chris Holcomb from the 11 Alive Weather Impact Team, 8 o'clock here on Wednesday evening. This is one of our many extended weather updates that we're doing here on 11 Alive Plus, as we have a weather impact alert in effect for Saturday and on Sunday with this potential winter storm that we're going to be dealing with for the weekend. We've got a lot of moving parts going on right now with model data that is coming in where we're trying to refine what it is that we're expecting. We also have been telling you all day about the new winter storm watch that was issued. As of right now, it doesn't include Metro Atlanta, but it most likely will include parts of Metro Atlanta. The first one that they issued is just phase one. We're going to break all of that down for you within the next 15 minutes or so on this extended weather update. But first, more on that weather impact alert that we issued later on Monday night ahead for this weekend, when the models were indicating very consistently a winter storm moving in, and we still think we are going to be getting some winter weather here for the weekend, mainly Saturday and Sunday. We think it's going to be a transitioning from a cold rain on Saturday into a freezing rain later Saturday night, overnight into early on Sunday, where the main threats we're talking about will be cold rain and ice or freezing rain, whereas sleet and snow is on the lower end of the spectrum for any threats out there. It's possible on the back side of this system when it moves out late Sunday night, it might mix in with a little bit of snow there. But we want you to plan for travel and power impacts here. Roads are going to be slick in some spots, and there'll be some areas that get a lot of ice that will weigh down on trees and power lines that we're going to see some power outages most likely in many areas. Now, take a look at this winter storm watch, and this is including a lot of states here out to the Midwest and to the west here, even over to New Mexico. We have a winter storm watch. Much of Texas, Oklahoma, parts of Kansas, Missouri, Arkansas, Louisiana, northern Mississippi, northern Alabama, Tennessee, southern parts of Illinois, southern parts of Ohio. We've got Kentucky here going into West Virginia and Virginia, North Carolina, upstate of South Carolina, and then here in the state of Georgia. This is phase one of this winter storm watch. Now, the interesting part of this is a lot of folks, when we posted this earlier, and even though we explained that more counties would most likely be added in, many people just looked at this and said, oh, so Atlanta's in the clear, Athens is in the clear, we don't have anything to worry about. That is not the case. We're just not in the timing yet for the Weather Service to issue a winter storm watch for us, because our impacts are going to be coming later. They can't issue these too far in advance. So the Weather Service is thinking as early as Friday night in some spots of North Georgia that there will be some impacts developing, and then later for us on Saturday. So that's why they can't really include Metro Atlanta in a watch until tomorrow, when we get within that time frame that they are allowed to issue a watch. I know it's kind of like, why don't just go ahead and do it to let us know, but that's just the time frames that they have there. Also, as we get closer to it, we're going to be analyzing a lot more of the data to help really pinpoint which areas should or should not be included in a winter storm watch. So now this is from Rome to Bartow County. So there's Floyd County, Bartow County, Cherokee County, Forsyth County, Hall County, Banks County, Franklin County there along 85 there at the South Carolina line. Also over into parts of Hart County and Elbert County, and then up along the South Carolina line there up through Stevens County, Habersham County, and Rabun County as well. That line northward, those counties in blue, that's where we have the watch that begins Friday night and into Monday morning. That's where we're going to see the better chance for some power outages, travel impacts, and remember, likely more counties are going to be added to this as we go through the day tomorrow and get a little bit closer to it. Now, we've been saying we're being transparent with you and really just letting you know what we know and what we don't know. And we're still leaning toward a winter storm is looking more and more likely as we get closer to it. It's just the extent of that we don't know yet. The other thing that we're feeling confident about, there will be some dangerous travel in some spots. In some areas, maybe not, but in other areas on the north, especially north and east of the city, we're thinking those travel impacts are going to be a little more dangerous. Power outage threat is growing as well again, from Atlanta north and eastward, that's the highest confidence in those power outages that we have. But really, anybody is possible to have some power outages depending on where this ice is going to set up. And that's the thing. It's really looking more likely to be cold rain into freezing rain or ice rather than sleet and snow. That's on the lower end there. So just looking more like an ice event rather than a snow event. Now, the other things that we don't know right now is the exact amounts, the icing that takes place, how thick will it be, how much ice accretion will we have? Those questions are still out there right now. Also, the exact timeline. We're giving a rough timeline. I know I mentioned North Georgia could be as early as late Friday, but I'm really thinking for Metro Atlanta, this is going to be something that's going to be transitioning during the day on Saturday, where it goes from a cold rain to a freezing rain, most likely throughout the day on Saturday, and then more of those impacts late Saturday into early on Sunday. Also, the extent of the impacts, it depends on where that ice decides to be and where the thicker ice also decides to be. And we're also looking, this is something that's developing a little bit today, at whether or not some warmer air is going to be able to overtake the wedge or that shallow layer of cool air at the surface. And one of the models today is indicating that. But let me tell you, with my experience with the wedge, the models often say it's going to erode faster than it really does. So we're just watching the trends of the models here to see if maybe some warmer air can move in and overtake that wedge, and then that would bring those temperatures back up on Sunday, and it would be more of a cold rain event later in the day on Sunday. So there's a lot still that we don't know, and that's what we're going to be fine-tuning here over the next few days. Now, speaking of that, let's take a look at the model comparison. I want to put this up full so you can see it. I'm going to go over and point to it for you too. These are two of the main models. Now, these are the deterministic models that we're talking about. We also look at ensembles. We look at AI ensembles as well for the European and for the American model. Let me show you some of the changes that we have been seeing today. The European model is the one that is trying to erode that wedge or the shallow layer of cold air that rain would fall through to make it freezing rain there at the surface. It is now showing mainly Atlanta north and eastward as the area most likely to have any type of freezing rain, but maybe just cold rain in northwest Georgia, in West Georgia, and areas south and west of us. So that is the one change that we saw today. And that has been really just one model run. We are waiting for new model runs on the European model to see if that's changing anymore, to see if that trend is continuing, or if it's going to go back to more ice around. So that's one trend that we're watching here. Now, the American model earlier was showing this pink color, or the ice, stretching all the way down to LaGrange and even south of Macon. Well, today, this model also, even though it has a lot of pink over North Georgia and Metro Atlanta and over to the east of us, including Atlanta in a big part of that freezing rain area and even on the south side, but it is showing that trend of maybe a little more warmer air moving back up in here later on Sunday. So that's what we have to watch. Now, whenever you're in meteorology and looking at the models, you don't ever just be like, oh, that's it, that's what's going to happen for sure, 100%. No, we look at the models and we look at these trends as we're coming in. That's what we're trained to do to help us come up with a forecast. So I'm not saying this is particularly going to happen. I'm not saying that is particularly going to happen, but we're going to be looking at these trends to see how these models change and evolve over the next few days in order to determine eventually what we think is going to happen. Now, here's a look at the ice forecast. This is the American model here. I know those kind of flipped there, but this is the American model on this side, showing a much higher coverage of ice and even thicker ice in many spots, still favoring more north and east with some of that heavier ice and then not as much on the south side. But compare that to the European, and that's showing mainly Atlanta northward along I-20, maybe coming down to the airport here, and then up to the north and east with those highest, thicker ice amounts up in parts of northeast Georgia. So we're still thinking that we're going to have some winter weather around, but it's just pinpointing the extent, the exact locations of it, and just how much ice that is going to be. And of course, any difference, I know these sound like small differences in ice accumulations here, but these small differences make a big difference in the type of impacts that we have. Let's say there's just 1/10 of an inch of ice. That would be like a light glaze on roads and sidewalks and some slick bridges, coated windshields. There'd be some isolated power outages with that. But if we get up to 1/4 of an inch of ice, meaning 1/4 of an inch of ice is collecting and growing thicker and thicker on tree limbs and power lines, well, that's when we start having more problems. Roads would be a little more icy, the tree limbs would sag and break, and there would be numerous power outages. Then, if you go up to 1/2 inch or more of ice, then those impacts are going to be even greater there, talking about dangerous travel on the roads, widespread tree damage, long-term power outages possible when you have 1/2 inch of ice or greater. So those amounts are more likely more to the north and east of us based on both of those models there. So here's what we're going to be watching for this timeline. And we've been fine-tuning this a little bit, but we still think this timeline is working out pretty well, that on Saturday, that's where we're going to see this cold rain changing over into a winter mix, most likely some freezing rain that'll be developing there during the day. And then any untreated roads could turn slick. I really think that may not happen until later on in the evening, but then late Saturday night, overnight into Sunday, that's where we're going to be seeing more of this freezing rain happening and possibly accumulating a little bit more there. Temperatures are going to be dropping into the 20s overnight Saturday into Sunday. So any rain that's coming down, again, liquid in the sky, but when it gets to that cold surface, it would change over to some freezing rain. So that is going to be more likely, we're thinking Saturday night into early on Sunday. Roads are going to be turning slick and icy in that time frame there too. And then on Sunday, a lot of big ifs here. If this freezing rain continues and those temperatures stay at or below freezing, we're going to see that winter weather continuing, and we'll see the power outage threat increasing there as more and more of that ice would be piling up or collecting on trees and power lines to cause those potential power outages. But we have to watch those temperatures closely. As I mentioned, a couple of the models are saying, hey, this warm nose is going to kind of overtake this wedge and might scour it out, and we may see temperatures actually warming up Sunday, changing that over to all rain again. That would really be the best case scenario for us, but again, we'll have to wait and see about that, just how much that warmer air could overtake that. So these are just the things we're watching, but again, nothing is a for sure thing right now. So we still want you to prepare as if we're going to have a crippling ice storm. Now, whether or not it's crippling or not, or just some ice around, that's what we're going to have to be kind of watching here. So prepare for the potential for some difficult travel, especially with the icy conditions. Prepare for some power outages, depending on the extent of the ice and how heavy it actually gets. And prepare for some closures, most likely Saturday night into Sunday, maybe lingering into Monday morning, depending on what kind of conditions are left here on Monday morning. Now, I know I've been focusing a lot on what to expect for the weekend, but I also want you to know what's happening out there right now. And we have some rain moving in, and this is just that, rain. Temperatures are in the 50s, dropping into the 40s here this evening and overnight. So we're well above freezing, so no concerns about any frozen precip out there for tonight. This is rain pushing in. Nothing really here in Atlanta yet. We've had some clouds around. Those clouds are going to thicken up a little bit more. But we do have some coming into parts of northwest and north Georgia. Not all of this is reaching the ground because the air is pretty dry at the surface. So as this falls through that drier air, some of it evaporates. But we do have more of this rain back into Alabama, coming into Cleveland County, knocking on the door here in West Georgia. A few of these showers. I'm going to show you the Rome tower cam in just a minute to see if this rain is actually making it down to the ground. But really, all of this that we're watching through Alabama, Mississippi, pushing our way tonight, and it's going to be with us here off and on during the day tomorrow. Here's that live camera of Rome. I'm looking at the roads here. They don't really look that wet. I know that the radar was showing green over Floyd County, but as I mentioned, not all of it's making it to the ground. Some of it's evaporating before it gets to the ground. So I do think that we'll start seeing some rain in Rome and in northwest Georgia relatively soon. This is our tower cam up in Blue Ridge. Again, these roads are still dry as well, but Blue Ridge should be getting in on some of that rain soon. We're going to be dry for a while here in Atlanta until eventually, mainly overnight, we'll see some showers moving in. Beautiful view there of the skyline as well. Our high temperature today, 55, a degree above average. That was nice to see today. Our low this morning was 29. That's below average. And in the morning, We'll be above average when we wake up, as temperatures are going to be in the 40s versus around 35, which is where we should be for this time of year. So over the last 20 hours, there you see that cold air to start, and then we warmed up in the afternoon up to about 55 degrees. And right now, we're at 49. A lot of 40s all around, generally. Clayton, the coolest spot at 35. But as that moisture moves in tonight, and as we continue with that cloud cover, we're going to see temperatures staying on the mild side in the 40s to start in the morning, and then getting up into those 50s here into the afternoon hours, with a better chance for rain earlier in the day and then maybe tapering off a little bit later. It's not going to be a constant all-day rain. We're talking about just some of those scattered showers. So here we go tonight. Those showers pushing in the morning, dealing with some showers off and on for your drive into work. And then at lunchtime, not a widespread coverage of rain, but just a few spotty showers here and there, tapering off a little bit into the afternoon. And then going into Friday, more of this moisture feeding in here with those scattered showers with us into noon on Friday, in the afternoon on Friday too. Then we're going to get a little break Friday night into early on Saturday. And then Saturday morning, we're going to start feeling the cooler air coming in, some of that moisture mixing in far northwest Georgia, some of that continuing to push in around lunchtime, mainly far to the north. And then during the day, we'll see some of that mix happening here for the metro area. So here is a look. Specifically, we showed you the side-by-side a minute ago, but here's a closer look at what we're watching. This is the European model showing those higher amounts there in northeast Georgia. Look at Dawson County, White County, Lumpkin County, seeing those higher ice amounts, lower ice amounts around metro Atlanta, and not as much on the south side. Again, that is the European model. This is the American model, showing still impressive ice amounts around metro Atlanta and on the south side, but more of that to the north of us. So watching the trends here with that going through the next few days. So here's a look at the European model again, with Saturday seeing the ice chances increasing during the day, especially during the evening. This is just after midnight on Sunday. Ice possible here in metro Atlanta. And then look at that, how it starts to kind of go away through the day on Sunday, changing over to a cold rain, according to the European, and then maybe some snow on the backside quickly moving through before we start drying out with really cold air, though, into Monday and into Tuesday. Here's a closer look at the GFS, which shows more of a widespread coverage of that freezing rain. This is even starting a little bit earlier as well on Saturday. This is 2:30 in the afternoon. And then more of that through the evening hours, extending down to the south side, even down close to Upson County, Pike and Lamar County, some ice possible there. Sunday at lunchtime, still some icing, but then maybe a brief improvement before maybe a little snow mixing in on the back side of that coming in Sunday night into Monday. So many things still that we have to fine tune, and that's going to be what we're going to be doing here over the next few days. So just know the next couple of days, no winter weather threats for us. It's mainly rain and mild air. Temperatures in the lower 50s on Thursday and Friday. And then the rain chance increasing Saturday, mixing in with freezing rain as temperatures fall during the day Saturday night into Sunday. Still icing possible in many spots. The high temperatures on Sunday are all over the place when we're looking at the models. We're keeping it with highs in the 30s, but at least above freezing. Then we think the precip's going to end. We're down to 23 Monday morning with a high of only 34. 19 Tuesday morning. Some of the models are also going crazy with really low temperatures on Tuesday morning with highs up to 38 and then back up to 45 here for Wednesday. So yeah, we've got a lot to watch, and we have other updates for you coming up. Our next one is at 9 o'clock, our next extended update, and then another one at 10, and then of course our newscast coming on tonight at 11 o'clock. So thanks for watching this extended weather update here on 11 Alive and Weather Impact 24/7. We've got more to come. Have a great evening. And we are back. Sorry for that audio issue we had just a moment ago, but I'm Chief Meteorologist Chris Holcomb from the 11 Alive Weather Impact Team with yet another extended weather update as we are tracking this pending winter weather system coming in for this weekend on Saturday and on Sunday. And we're watching a lot of new data coming in right now. We have that winter storm watch in effect for parts of North Georgia. It's kind of phase one of these watches that we expect to have. Metro Atlanta most likely is going to be included in a watch as early as tomorrow morning to go into the weekend as well. So a lot to watch, a lot of moving pieces. We know that you're hungry for weather information, so that's why we're doing this extended weather update here on 11 Alive Plus. Well, we still have a weather impact alert that is in effect for our area, mainly for Saturday and into Sunday, as we have been watching this system evolving and developing with new model data each and every day, and also watching the intricacies of the changes within that model data each and every day, and for the trends to hopefully be able to pinpoint a little bit more of what's going to be happening here going into the weekend. We were telling you earlier in the week to listen to us every day for changes, and just because you may have heard something on Monday or Tuesday, just know that that could change going into Wednesday, Thursday, as well as on Friday. But we still have this weather impact alert in effect. The main thing that we're going to be watching for will be a cold rain changing over to freezing rain, we're thinking, on Saturday, especially later Saturday and into Sunday. The sleet and snow risk is really on the lower end. This is going to be mainly more of an icing event that we're going to see here. We want you to plan for some travel impacts as well as power impacts depending on who gets the heaviest or thickest ice that could cause those travel problems, as well as some of those power outage problems too. Look at the winter storm watch that extends all the way out past Texas into New Mexico, and look at all these states that it's covering here, and then coming into North Georgia. As I mentioned, for us, this is phase one of this winter storm watch. Now, what happens with the National Weather Service is they don't allow watches beyond 48 hours out, and they're thinking that this is going to be starting in North Georgia before it's going to be starting here in the Metro Atlanta area. So that's why they've issued this phase one that does not include Atlanta, but it includes much of North Georgia. It comes as far south as Rome there in Floyd County, also Bartow County, Cherokee County, Forsyth County, Hall County, Banks County, Habersham County, that line northward, also including Hart County and Elbert County there on the Georgia-South Carolina line. So all those counties in blue are the ones that the Weather Service is saying this could start as early as Friday night there. I still think that even for them it may not be until Saturday based on the latest modeling that we're seeing. But I just don't want folks, and unfortunately this is what's happening, even though I posted earlier on my social media explaining that, hey, even though you don't see Atlanta on the map, that doesn't mean that we're out of the woods. We're just not included in this yet. And it most likely tomorrow, parts of Metro Atlanta or much of Metro Atlanta will be included in this winter storm watch. So this is phase one. More counties are going to be added here to that as we watch for those areas that are going to be dealing with power outages and also some travel impacts. There's still a lot we don't know. We told you this week, again, we'll be fine-tuning this forecast from day to day. Here's what we're feeling more comfortable with. There will be at least some sort of winter storm over parts of North Georgia or even Metro Atlanta coming into the weekend. It's just the extent and the exact areas that we're not able to totally pinpoint out there yet. We also know that there will be some spots that will have some dangerous travel, as well as power outage threat growing in certain parts, especially north and east of the city. And ice is looking more likely than the snow risk. Excuse me. These are the things that we're feeling more comfortable with and more confident with as we head into this event for the weekend. There's still a lot, though, that we don't know. We don't know the exact amounts, and that's where the models are kind of wavering a little bit, or the exact locations there of where those heavier amounts are going to be. We're feeling a little bit better about a timeline, but we just don't have an exact timeline yet of about exactly when we'll see some changeover to some winter mischief out there and exactly when it's going to end. So we'll be fine-tuning that, as well as the extent of the impacts, exactly which areas are going to be impacted greater and which areas might have some lower impacts. But we're trying to fine-tune that too. Also watching could warmer air come in on Sunday and overtake the wedge, or that shallow layer of cold air at the surface? Even though some models are indicating that, in my experience with the wedge, a lot of times it holds on longer than what the models are saying that it will do. So you may be hearing stuff on social media about, oh, I'm seeing somewhere that it's going to be 60 degrees on Sunday. One of the models was saying that earlier. But that's that model thinking that the warm air is going to take over that wedge, which usually the models don't always show correctly. So many things to watch. There's so much chatter on social media. I just looked at some of the comments on my social media, even though I tried my best to explain it, and people still are perceiving it different than what I was saying. So I'm just really confused. We try our best. We work hard trying to predict the future and communicate that to you. But a lot of times people just have their own perception. So thank you for watching tonight, because you obviously are wanting some information, and I hope that I can explain that to you in an understandable way. In fact, here is the model comparison between the European and the American. And I think what got a lot of people talking was that today's run of the European, and again, the European model is the one that's usually more credible. And the European model is the one from the beginning of this potential storm here. The European model is the one that was going gangbusters about it and being consistent from day to day to day to day about it. Now, the European model is the one thinking, hey, warmer air might come in and we might see rain for a little bit longer here for this event. And the ice might be confined just to areas from Atlanta north and east of the city and not to the south. If you are mad because you're not going to get ice, I would celebrate the fact that you're not going to get freezing rain, trees falling on power lines, and power outages and stuff like that. So those are just some of the intricacies that we're watching with these models, but still impactful from Atlanta up toward the north and also to the east. Now, the American model also was going gangbusters with this. That kind of took the American model a little bit longer to be going with this. But, and actually the American model was going with more snow versus ice, but now it's all ice. Earlier today, this model took the ice down south of Macon, over here toward LaGrange and Columbus, and now that is trying to push the ice up a little bit more, but still showing Atlanta southward, east, and north with icing conditions. So again, looks like it would still be happening, but maybe not in LaGrange. So these are the things that we're watching. We don't look at just one model run to go with an exact forecast there. We're looking for trends and seeing if the next European model run shows the same thing, or if it goes back to more ice. And the same thing with the American model as well. So I want to show you the icing, and I know I kind of flipped these a little bit. Earlier I had the Euro on this side, the American on this side, now the American's on this side. But it shows more coverage of ice, the American model is, whereas the European model is showing that coverage of ice being greater from Atlanta to the north and to the east, with that more, thick ice up in parts of North and also East Georgia. And this all would kind of line up with the wedge, which is that shallow layer of cool air at the surface, and you have moisture running up and over that. At the upper levels, above that shallow layer of cold air, it is above freezing, so it's a raindrop. It comes down to the surface where temperatures would be at or below freezing, and you would get freezing rain there. So again, the American model is showing a wider area of potential ice. The European model is showing it more north and east of the city. So again, we think we're getting something, but it's just fine-tuning the exact areas and the intensity of the ice that is going to be a collecting in spots as to see who is going to be feeling the worst impacts there. And even just a little bit of ice makes a big difference in those impacts. A tenth of an inch of ice is like glazing on roads and power lines, on your windshield, maybe some slick spots developing and some isolated power outages. But if you get a quarter of an inch of ice and the roads are more icy out there, it's a little bit thicker, it's slicker, but tree limbs begin to sag and break. You can see numerous power outages if tree limbs fall on power lines or if the tree itself falls on power lines. And if you get a half inch of ice or greater, Well, that is a lot more dangerous travel conditions, more widespread tree damage, and more long-term power outages. We may have that in parts of North and East Georgia, depending on how much icing that we get there. So these are the things we're going to be watching over the next couple of days with those trends. Now, the timeline we're still feeling pretty comfortable about, where the National Weather Service is thinking North Georgia might start seeing some of this Friday night, and then into the metro area during the day on Saturday. And I think it's going to be on Saturday when we're going to see that transition taking place, where we go from a cold rain to a freezing rain happening. And any untreated roads could turn slick. I really think that's going to be more likely later on Saturday into the evening hours and overnight, when we see more of the freezing rain possible and some of that accumulation intensifies a little bit more. Temperatures would drop into the 20s by Sunday morning. Again, with any rain around, that would be ice that would be forming, and then roads turning slick and icy. Now, on Sunday, this is the big if here, because this is when the models are saying that some warm air, or at least the European model is saying some warmer air might come in and overtake that wedge and change it over to a cold rain before it's all said and done. So I do think that overnight Saturday into Sunday, we would be seeing some of that icing, but it could improve Sunday depending on that warm air. So we think the winter weather is going to continue into Sunday. The power outage threat is still going to be there, and we're going to be watching those temperatures very closely just to see if that warm nose could come in there and erode any part of that wedge. So how to prepare? We want you to prepare that we're going to see some sort of winter weather, and know that travel is going to be tricky, know that there may be some power outages, and know that you need to prepare for some closures, especially Saturday night into Sunday, maybe lingering into Monday. Even though we think the precip is ending on Sunday night, there may be whatever's left there that did come down or that was collecting on trees and power lines isn't going to be melting into Monday. It'll be lingering into there for Monday morning. So we'll just have to watch those temperatures and those profiles very closely into the weekend. Now, I know that we're concentrating on the weekend, but we also have some stuff going on out there right now. Nothing frozen. We're just talking about rain that is over our area now, coming into North Georgia and also Northwest Georgia, approaching the metro area. We don't have any rain here in metro Atlanta now, but those clouds are thickening up a little bit more. But you can see up in North Georgia, some of this rain is coming down. And I showed you earlier a couple of tower cams where, even though it was showing green here on radar, those tower cams were still dry because a lot of this was evaporating before it makes it down to the ground. Now we're seeing the column of air moistening up a little bit more, and some of this rain is making it down to the ground now. This stretches back into Alabama, also into Mississippi. So this is pushing our way tonight. And then during the day tomorrow, we're going to see some of these off and on showers that'll be moving through. This is a live look right now in Rome. Now, we showed you the green in Rome, and it's not being really heavy coming down, but you'll see here how that car is driving up the road, and you're seeing the reflection of the lights on the road, even the green lights reflecting on the road. And these roads are wet. You can kind of see it on that side too. Nothing heavy, but there is some rain now coming down in parts of Northwest Georgia. Also, up in Blue Ridge, mainly dry there. We're not seeing, we're seeing the somewhat of a reflection, but not like a wet reflection on the roads there as that light turned red and this car's coming down the road. It's mainly dry roads there, but they're going to see the rain pushing in a little bit more. Atlanta overnight, we're dry now, but we'll also see some of that rain overnight and into tomorrow morning, and another nice view here of the skyline with the clouds, but no rain around. Almanac is looking okay, where we had highs today at 56, a little bit above the average. Low this morning was below average, though, at 29. That coldest air, of course, early this morning before we got up into those mid-50s here this afternoon. Temperatures right now still above freezing. We're going to stay above freezing tonight, so we have no concerns about winter weather here for the overnight hours, because it's just going to be above freezing in those 40s, and it's going to be liquid variety of precip. And then tomorrow, high temperatures up to about 53 degrees. Still some of those showers off and on during the day, but not raining all day long. You can see this rain as it's moving in. It'll be with us here tonight, off and on during the day tomorrow. And going into Friday, pretty much the same thing. Not an all-day rain, but just some of these scattered showers here off and on during the day on Friday. And then we get to Saturday. We're going to see a break late Friday into early Saturday morning. But then you see some of that up in North Georgia, mixing in early and then later on pushing into the metro Atlanta area where we can see that mixing with the European model showing the better chance for thicker ice up in northeast Georgia. Some of that extending down into the Atlanta area, some icing here, but not as much to the south of us. And then the GFS model showing more of a widespread coverage of the ice around. So we're hoping these models are going to be coming together a little bit more over the next couple of days, and we'll be able to fine-tune those impacts in some of the more exact locations for you, and a little bit more kind of breaking down and pinpointing that timing for you here too. So this is how it looks right now. Warm air Thursday and Friday with highs in the lower 50s with 40% chance for showers off and on during the day. Changing over into some winter weather on Saturday as well as on Sunday, with icing being the main threat. Temperature Sunday all over the place in the afternoon. We're thinking 38 degrees for a high, but there are some models going much warmer if that warm air is able to overtake. So that's going to be the big question as more data comes in. And then really cold air Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. A low of 23 Monday with a high of 34. 19 Tuesday morning with a high of 38. 21 Wednesday morning, but at least we get back up to around 45 degrees there on Wednesday with partly cloudy skies. So still a lot to watch, a lot of questions that we still have that we hope to get more answers on over the next few days. And we'll share that with you here on 11 Alive Plus with more of those extended weather updates. And of course, we'll have another one coming up at 10 o'clock tonight, as well as updates on our newscast tonight at 11 o'clock. Have a good one. We'll see you a little bit later. o'clock now on this Wednesday evening as we are doing multiple extended weather updates here on 11 Alive Plus and Weather Impact 24/7. We continue with our weather impact alert for Saturday as well as into Sunday as we are fine-tuning what we expect going into the weekend. Still looking like we're going to start off with a cold rain on Saturday and then changing over to a freezing rain as temperatures are going to be falling during the day on Saturday, especially into the evening hours. We want you to be aware of the potential for that cold rain changing over to freezing rain or ice. And the snow and sleet risk is on the low end. This is going to be more of a freezing rain event or ice event that we're going to be preparing for and experiencing into the weekend. So definitely plan for some travel and power impacts for this weekend. Maybe less likely on the south side, but more likely to the north and also to the east of the city. So a lot to watch with this system. In fact, take a look at where we have all of these winter storm watches in effect. They extend all the way back to New Mexico through Texas, Oklahoma, all the way over toward the upstate of South Carolina, North Carolina, also Virginia, and into West Virginia there. And here in North Georgia, we do have a winter storm watch in effect. This is phase 1 of the issuance of this winter storm watch. Right now, it does not include Atlanta, but most likely we're going to see more counties included in this watch tomorrow. It's most likely it's going to be extended southward to include more of the metro Atlanta area. But the Weather Service is issuing this phase 1 because in North Georgia it's going to start a little bit sooner than it's going to start here in metro Atlanta. Possibly as early as Friday night there in the higher elevations of North Georgia. But for us, for the metro area, it is mainly going to be a system that's going to be evolving on Saturday with things changing over, especially later in the day and the evening with some of those slick spots that will be developing. So we'll have that for you tomorrow when they do expand that or extend it to include more counties here on your Monday. So there are still things we know and we don't know. We've been telling you this week that each and every day we'll be refining this forecast with the latest information that helps us to determine who will be feeling more of the impacts. And what we're dealing with right now, what we know is that, yes, some sort of winter storm is going to be likely here into the weekend. We feel confident with that. We just don't know the exact extent of it and who's going to get the worst of it right now. We do know that there will be excuse me, some spots in North Georgia that will have some dangerous travel, as well as the power outage threat is also growing. And we will see some areas that we're going to be watching where ice is more likely than snow. We're not really thinking we're going to see snow here in our area. It's going to be more of an ice event. And what we don't know right now are those exact amounts, the exact timeline, and the exact impacts and the extent of those impacts, who all is going to be impacted by this. We're refining that over the next few days as well with more model data coming in. And one of the other big questions is, will warm air on Sunday be able to overtake that shallow layer of cool air at the surface, which is known as the wedge? And if we see warmer air from the south trying to nose its way up into North Georgia, will it be able to overtake that wedge? And actually, would we see temperatures warming up on Sunday to change it back in to mainly a cold rain? So those are all the questions that we're going to be trying to answer here over the next few days with additional model data coming in. Speaking of the models, here is what we're watching right now. I'll put this on a little more full for you so you can see this. This is the European and the American model. We look at this to see the changes here. We also look at other ensemble models, the American and the Euro ensemble models, as well as the AI models too. So we watch these for updates and look for trends. Just because a model is showing something doesn't mean that's the exact placement of where the ice would be. But we look at trends between the two models and between each model itself compared to what it said last update and what it's saying now, and look for those trends. One of the trends that started this morning with the European model, and that was the model all along that was very consistent with a major ice storm over us. Today, it started trending a little bit warmer and showing that that ice threat would be more from Atlanta to the north and east and not as much on the south side or on the west side. So the next run that comes in on this model, we're going to be looking very closely at that to see if it's going to continue that trend or put more ice back into our area. I'm about to sneeze here, so I'm going to step out to do that. Hold on. Excuse me. The American model shows that pink color a little more widespread. That is the icing potential there. That would be more widespread going down south of the city. Now earlier, the American model was showing this going all the way down toward LaGrange and also Macon. Well, that's trying to push it up just a little bit more. So we're going to see if that trend continues as well. So this is what we're watching right now to see if those transitions will happen on Sunday and if it will get warmer or not. And we'll have more on that for you throughout the day tomorrow too, as these models are hopefully going to be coming more together and more in line as we get closer again to Saturday and on Sunday. But look at the ice coverage on the American model, still showing a widespread coverage of ice, even going down to the south toward LaGrange and also Macon. But there's the European model showing not much at all on the south side, with that ice being Atlanta north and northeastward and eastward as well, with those really higher ice amounts up to the north and east of us. And that would really kind of line up where we typically see the wedge, that northeast flow kind of bringing this down like that. So it just depends on how far down to the south that really cold air is going to be able to go as it mixes in with that moisture. So those are the differences that we're seeing right now. And I've been showing this map for the past few times that I've been doing this because I want to show you the differences between what you would consider as a light amount of ice and just a little bit more ice makes a huge difference in the impacts. Let's talk about 1/10 of an inch of ice. That would be just like a glazing on some roads, maybe on your windshield, isolated power outages with that, maybe some slick bridges too. But go up to 1/4 of an inch of ice accumulation on trees or on power lines or on surfaces, and that makes those roads slicker. Tree limbs start to get heavy and sag and maybe even break. And if that hits a power line, of course, you'll have some power outages there. And we think those power outages will be more numerous with 1/4 of an inch of ice. What about 1/2 inch of ice? That's a lot of ice weighing down trees and tree limbs. So the power outages would be a lot more widespread with tree damage, and the road travel would be a lot more dangerous as well and slick there with 1/2 inch of ice. Imagine that. They're coating all of those surfaces. So we will be trying to fine tune not only where the ice will be, but also how thick it could be, because that determines what type of impacts that we have. Now, the timeline we're still thinking is about the same of what we've been saying all along, with on Saturday, the transition taking place from a cold rain to generally a freezing rain, where you may start to notice some trees kind of glazing over a little bit, a little bit higher, but then some of that translating onto the surface as well. Sidewalks, your back deck, exposed surfaces, that don't have anything under them would start freezing up first, and then maybe even the ground would start freezing up there too. So that would be really later in the day, Saturday, mainly Saturday night and into early on Sunday, when we see more of those impacts, with the accumulation intensifying a little bit more, temperatures dropping into the 20s by Sunday morning, and with rain coming down, that would be a lot of freezing there, and roads turning slick and icy there Saturday night into Sunday. And then more impacts here on Sunday with still some cold air around, and power outages will become more possible. Travel issues will be happening too. But the thing we're going to have to watch on Sunday, we'll be watching those temperatures closely. If we see a southwest flow trying to overtake that wedge and that shallow layer of cold air at the surface, then maybe it would change over to all rain again and not be as impactful of a storm. So that's all that we have to watch here during the day on Sunday. So we want you to prepare for tricky travel. Just know that this is very possible into the weekend, Saturday into Sunday. Prepare for power outages. The greatest threat would be if it's going to be ice, in which that's exactly what we think it's going to be. And prepare for closures through potentially Monday morning, again, depending on if that warmer air comes in on Sunday or not. But it's going to be really cold into next week, so whatever is left behind is going to be slick for an extended period there. Now, before this system comes in, we already have rain in our area now. And this is that, just rain. It is nothing frozen. Temperatures are in the 40s right now. We're going to stay in the 40s through the overnight hours. We're not going to get to freezing at all, but we do have this rain that's coming into our area. Generally light rain. Now, not all of this has been reaching the ground, especially here on this part, that eastern part of this. As this moisture moves in, it's really having a little bit of a time to moisten up the atmosphere through the entire column there, whereas right now, it's really dry in some spots, so some of this is evaporating before it makes it to the ground. But a lot of this is beginning to saturate that column of air, and we're seeing a lot of this making it to the ground. Now, Atlanta has been mainly dry with clouds building in. Now we're getting some of those lighter showers in North Fulton, Forsyth County trying to move in around Hall County, around Lake Lanier. More of this back in West Georgia is coming down, mainly in the form of some light rain. It goes back into Alabama, also into Mississippi here. Parts of Tennessee seeing some rain too. So that's what we're going to be dealing with overnight tonight and off and on during the day tomorrow. In Rome, you can see the wet roads there, the reflection of the light there on those roads. Nothing heavy, but just a few lighter showers. Also up in Blue Ridge, when we showed you this an hour ago, these roads were still dry. Now we're getting more water on those roads where you can see the reflection there of the street lights, as we are seeing some of the light rain there too. But nothing really in Atlanta right now. Clouds, though, are thickening up. And then, again, good visibility here over the city, but we'll see some of that rain that's about to move in. Temperatures today, 56 for a high, above average. Our low this morning was cold at 29. Tomorrow's going to be another relatively warm day. Morning temperatures aren't going to be this cold in the morning. They're going to be more in the 40s in the morning, and then highs again into those lower 50s into the afternoon. In fact, right now we're at 49. We have a lot of 40s all around. Clayton, one of the cooler spots, at 39 degrees at this hour. Tomorrow, highs back up to the lower 50s. We're going to be dealing with those off and on showers during the day. In fact, here's the timeline. You can see that rain out there for tonight continuing to move on through. You know, pretty good rain, but generally light coming in. We're not going to have major rainfall amounts. And then early tomorrow morning when you're driving into work, not everybody getting rain, but most likely you'll encounter at least some rain at some point coming into work early tomorrow morning with the off and on showers. Some of those still around noontime. In the afternoon, maybe a couple of more breaks. And then we're not finished with it yet. Additional showers developing into Friday morning. Those keep feeding in during the day Friday. More and more of these scattered showers around. And then a little break late Friday into Saturday. But then Saturday, colder air starts coming in. With that moisture, we'll watch some of that mixing taking place, moving into our area. I'm really thinking the higher chance of seeing any of that winter weather in Metro Atlanta is going to be later in the day on Saturday. Here's a look at that ice potential. This is the European model, keeping that thicker ice to the north and east of us, but some of that ice still extending down toward Metro Atlanta. Not as much on the south side, but the GFS model does show ice on the south side and even Atlanta northward, thicker ice around. We wouldn't want half inch of ice or 3/4 of an inch of ice. That would not be a good thing for us. So I'm hoping that this GFS model settles down a little bit, and I really hope that the European model keeps most of this lighter around the metro area. And I do think we can't escape, though, that ice up in parts of northeast Georgia. So here's the European model showing that progression during the day. This is late Saturday into Sunday with that ice around Metro Atlanta and even on the south side. And then changing during the day, maybe to more of a rain, if that warmer air is able to overtake that wedge. That would be the best case scenario for us if that would happen, and the impacts would not be as great. Here's a look at what the GFS is showing, and again, it is showing more of a widespread coverage of this ice. Look at the pink color here, that mix coming in a little earlier on Saturday, and then more of that sticking with us throughout the day on Saturday with those icing conditions, and then moving out late Sunday night into Monday, but still really cold air. Maybe a little bit of snow on the backside of that system based on the GFS. So yeah, a lot to watch as we go through the next few days. Just know these temperatures are mild Thursday and Friday, and then they get really cold going into Sunday and Monday for those morning temperatures and afternoon highs too. Mild Thursday and Friday, and then more cold air Saturday. Sunday's high temperature, we've got 38. There's a big question still about that, depending on if that warm air is going to be able to overtake that colder air at the surface. You see temperatures falling during the day Saturday, weather impact alerts Saturday and Sunday, watching that winter weather mixing in, and then really cold air. Now, no precip comes in Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday, but whatever is left isn't really going to be doing a lot of melting here. And we'll see really cold air Tuesday morning down to 19 with a high of 38, then back to 45 here on Wednesday afternoon. Thanks for watching this extended weather update here on 11 Alive Plus and Weather Impact 24/7. We'll have another update for you tonight at 11 with our newscast on 11 Alive News, as well as additional updates all throughout the day here on your Thursday and on Friday too. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you back here tonight at 11 o'clock.